Good afternoon and welcome to Keele University. My name is Hugo Snape and I am the Postgraduate Student Recruitment Manager here at Keele for international students. I'm joined today by my friend and colleague Beth Walton from our Visas and Immigration Compliance team. She's going to be talking to you about some of the things you need to know about applying for a UK study visa, the things that happen beforehand and the things that happen once you arrive on campus. We're going to give general advice today, so if you have any specific questions, please do get in touch, but you can ask any general questions you have in the chat below. We will have a question and answer session at the end. We're going to be recording the session, so if at any point you have to drop out, the whole session will be uploaded to YouTube after we're finished. So, Beth, thank you for joining us today. For most of our applicants watching, their next step will be to pay their tuition fee deposit. How do they go about this and how much do they need to pay?
Okay, thanks Hugo. So the minimum tuition fee deposit is £4,000 and there are links on our website of how to pay this. You can log in and add your Keele ID number. All of this information should be in your offer letter and your precast checklist as well. So it's very straightforward. You can just pay with your credit or debit card.
Excellent. And is this something they have to pay in addition to their fees, or is it subtracted from staff?
Yeah, so whatever you pay towards your tuition fee deposit, so you can pay more than £4,000 if you want to, because that will be deducted off your total fee. So if your total fee is £17,000, you pay your £4,000, you're only going to have your £13,000 left.
Okay, that's great, thank you. How can they pay? By what sort of mechanism do they need to pay?
I think it is just a card payment or flywire. I'm not 100% sure, but that's pretty clear on the website, I think. Yeah, you can do flywire or a card payment.
Yes, there's...
You know more about this than me.
Yes, sorry. So if you do go on the website, there is a full page that will explain how to make a payment to the university. The most important thing to remember when you're making a payment is to include your student ID number within the reference, so that we know who it is from. If you're working with an agent, they can help you with stuff like that as well. So do be sure to ask for advice because they handle a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, what I would add to that as well is if you pay any extra tuition fees after you've had your CAS, make sure, like Hugo says, that you put in your student number as the reference, but also let my team know. Our email address will be up at the end of the webinar, just so that we can add that onto your CAS as well, so that UKVI know exactly how much you've paid.
That's a handy hint, thank you. If a student is being financially sponsored, either by their government or perhaps by their employer, what do they need to do differently?
Okay, yeah, so if you've got an official financial sponsor, so this isn't your mum and dad sponsoring your studies, this is your home university, home government, maybe an international company that you might work for or something like that, then you don't have to pay the tuition fee deposit, but you do have to provide a formal letter confirming all the details of the sponsorship. So that would include your details. It'd need to be on company letterheaded paper. It would need to confirm the amount of tuition fees that you're going to be sponsored for. Some companies give a partial sponsorship, in which case you would still need to pay your deposit because that's not a full financial scholarship. If the company or university or government is also going to be paying your living expenses, that should be on there. And it needs to be dated within the last 6 months to still be valid.
That's great, thank you. So, after an applicant has paid their deposit or uploaded their sponsorship letter, what's the next step?
So hopefully by this point you've met the conditions of your offer already. If not, make sure you've fulfilled all of those. So uploaded your language qualifications if required, uploaded your academic qualifications, anything else that the admissions team are asking for your offer to be made unconditional. Once that's happened and you've paid your tuition fee deposit, the next step is to receive a pre-CAS checklist. This will be emailed to you, and it's got all the details that you've already provided to us, but you need to make sure that it's accurate. Make sure we've not made a spelling mistake in your name, or we've not got your passport number wrong. Check the dates of the course or what you're expecting. Everything that's on there, just please check it really thoroughly. Then you need to reply to that email, which will automatically revert to my team. When you reply, please tell us whether all the information is correct or whether we need to make any amendments. And you will also need to include in that reply your financial documents. So if you're not got an official sponsor but you're self-funded or your parents are paying, you need to include your bank statement there, or maybe you've got a loan from a bank in your home country. Include all of that documentation. Plus, if you are from a country or you live in a country that requires TB certificate to show that you're clear of TB, then you also need to provide that at that point. My team will then check all of your financial documents to make sure that they meet all the requirements of UKVI immigration rules. We do this to help you and to avoid you getting any visa refusal or being asked for more information at your application. So it's quite an important part of the process.
That's great, thank you. And just a note, you will be put onto the processing list for a CAS checklist automatically. You don't need to do anything extra after you've paid your deposit and been made unconditional. So if the only thing that you might need to do is accept your unconditional offer if you haven't already. But once you've got an unconditional offer that you've accepted and you've paid your deposit, you will get put onto the processing list for a CAS checklist automatically. So there's nothing more you need to do. Similarly, if you have been sponsored, you will similarly get put onto the CAS checklist list once you have uploaded that letter of sponsorship and got an unconditional offer. So you mentioned bank statement there. Mm-hmm. What kind of financial evidence are we looking for from students?
Yeah, there's a few different things that students provide. The most common is your own bank statement, which we prefer a sort of a current account that you're making deposits and withdrawals from regularly, an account that's in use. We do see savings accounts as well and fixed deposit accounts, so they are fine and acceptable. With a fixed deposit, we might also ask for a letter from your bank as well, just to confirm that the balance hasn't dropped below the minimum that is required for the application. So if you've got a bank statement and a bank letter, that's even better. Some students provide a loan, which must be specifically an educational loan from a bank in your home country. What else do we get? We get parents' bank statements as well. So if it is that your mum or dad or legal guardian are paying for your tuition fees, then that's fine. You can provide their bank statement, but you'll also need to provide your birth certificate or legal documentation to show their relation to you as your legal guardian, and also a letter from the person named on the bank statement giving their consent for you to use their funds for your tuition fees and living expenses. We have actually got a template for that letter on our website. If you go into the visa section of the Keele website, it's quite easy to find from there, or you can send us a message and we can send the link over to you.
Okay, that's really thorough. Thank you. How much money do students need to demonstrate on the bank statement, and how do they calculate this? I think we've got a calculation that we can put on.
Yeah, so this is different for individual students. So you do need to do the calculation yourself. So you need to think about your total tuition fee for the first year of your course. So if your course is for 2 or 3 years, don't worry about year 2 and 3. We're just interested in first year tuition fee. Then you can minus off that your deposit, whether that's £4,000 or maybe you've paid a bit extra, whatever you've already paid to the university, you can minus that off. If you've been given a scholarship by the university, then you can also minus that from the amount you need to show. But then you need to add on your living expenses, which UKVI have determined is £1,136 per month to live in the UK. And you need to show that you can support yourself for at least 9 months. So in total, that's £10,224 just for your living expenses. So you add that onto your tuition fees. Then if you were going to be living in our halls of residence on campus, the official Keele University halls of residence, and you've paid a deposit towards your accommodation there, you can also minus a small amount of that from what you need to show, which I think is something like 1,300 and... 483. I knew there was a 3 in there somewhere. Again, all this information is on our website. It's on the UK government website. And when you get your pre-CAS checklist, I've also written a guide there that covers everything you need to think about when preparing your financial documents, including a little calculation that you can do to work out your figure that you need to show. You don't need to return that with your pre-CAS checklist because we can work it out as well from the documents that we've got, but that's to help you work out how much you need. So you've worked out your balance that you need to show. Then you need to make sure that you've had that amount at least in your account for 28 consecutive days. So for 28 days, your balance, if it's a bank statement or fixed deposit, cannot drop below that amount. If it does, your 28 days need to start again. Even if it's only by a few pounds, UKVI are very strict on this. The other thing you will need to consider is currency fluctuations. If you are from a country where your currency versus the pound is not always on the level, then I would recommend you add a little bit extra onto the total that you've just worked out from that calculation. Maybe £500, maybe 10%. You decide what is doable for you, but use that as a protection, because once you've submitted your application, if your currency changed in value from when the caseworker was looking at your application, then that's something that you'll need to consider. So I always advise have a little bit extra in there. But yeah, it does need to be in there for 28 days. If you've got a student loan, then that doesn't count. That rule doesn't count. You just need to have your loan sanction letter, and that needs to be dated in at least the last 6 months. Also, if you've got a loan sanction letter, that needs to confirm, again, your details, who's getting the loan. It should confirm that you're coming to Keele University for the purpose of your higher education. And it should also confirm that there's no conditions on the release of the funds other than perhaps a successful visa application. UKVI are going to want to see that you will have access to that money before you travel to the UK so that you can make arrangements for things like flights and accommodation once you're here.
That's great, thank you. Is there anything in addition to those things that you've just mentioned there that you'll be looking out for that might give you cause for concern on a bank statement?
Yeah, so some things that we look out for when we're checking your documents and trying to make sure that UKVI will be happy with them is really large deposits. Now, we understand that sometimes you've maybe sold something of value, such as your car, or maybe you've been given a gift by a family member of quite a substantial amount of money. We totally understand that that happens regularly, but we might ask to see some evidence or justification of where that money has come from. Again, just to prepare you for UKVI asking a similar question. So if you've got a deposit that's over maybe £2,000 or £3,000, then I might ask you to send me a deed of sale, or maybe a letter from your uncle who's given you the money as a gift, just to confirm where that's come from. But it's nothing to worry about. We're just checking, like I say, that you're going to be prepared for UKVI asking a similar question. The bank statement you provide, it can be a digital statement. It doesn't have to be a physical printout that you've then scanned in. It can be a digital document. But we are going to be looking to check that that's got all the things we would expect of a bank statement: account number, your name, address, the dates to and from when it was produced. Often you can get a stamp from your bank as well if you do want to print it out. That's not essential, but it's something that we might look at. That's
lovely.
That's everything I can think of for now.
That's great, thank you. So, if a student's going through this pre-CAS process and they get asked to do a credibility interview, sort of what does that involve, and why might they have been asked to do that?
Yeah, well, UKVI do interview student visa applicants, and because of that, we in the international team also interview some applicants as well. Similarly to the bank statement check, we're doing this to help you prepare for an interview if UKVI did ask you to meet with them. What I would say is, don't worry about it. We're quite a friendly bunch, and the main thing we want to know, and that UKVI want to know, is that you have fully thought out your choice of coming to the UK, coming to Keele University for the specific course that you are coming for. So why have you chosen this course? Why have you chosen Keele University? There might be questions about your finances. How are you going to support yourself when you're here? Have you thought about where you're going to live? Things like this, just to make sure that you're fully prepared, because this is it's a big thing to move away from home, move to a new country for your studies. So all that we're doing here is to make sure that you are fully prepared.
That's great. So the student has sent back their pre-CAS checklist, everything's fine, they've sent back their bank statement and their TB certificate. How long will it take before they get their CAS? Yeah,
so if you've sent all the documents that you need and we've confirmed that they're all okay, you should get your CAS within 24 hours in a working week. So we don't work Saturdays and Sundays, but if you send your bank statements before sort of midday on a weekday, then you'll probably get your CAS the same day, provided we can check the bank statements and we're happy with them. Once we're happy with everything, we do aim to get the CAS to you within 24 hours.
That's brilliant service. That's really good. So yes, if you do have any worries about how long it's going to take and that kind of stuff, I think the things that tend to take the longest period of time are waiting for your funds to mature in your bank account, and waiting for a TB test, waiting for a visa appointment, things like waiting for us to send out the CAS, checking your CAS checklist, that kind of stuff doesn't take that long. So plan around those, booking appointments and that kind of stuff that tends to take a bit longer. Yeah,
definitely, like you say, being prepared with the 28 days for your bank statement to be matured. You start that now, even if you haven't got your unconditional offer yet. If you wait for your unconditional offer and your pre-CAS, then you've got to wait another 28 days for your bank statement. Everything then is getting delayed. So it's never too early to start preparing your bank statement, definitely.
Okay, so we've got our CAS. What's the next steps? Is it going to apply for their visa?
Yeah, once you've got your CAS, I would recommend you apply for your visa straight away. Again, there's no point waiting for these things. You never know how long it's going to take. UKVI say on their website that you should get a decision between, I think, 2 and 3 weeks. I think 3 weeks it might be. However, if they find something that they don't think is straightforward on your application, if they do want to ask you for more information about a large deposit on your bank statement, for example, all that could possibly delay the process. Plus, you will most likely have to go to a physical visa centre, which might not be in your local town or city. You might even have to travel, depending on what country you're in. So you're going to have to book the appointment. Bear in mind, now is the busiest time for the visa centres. So you might have to wait to get an appointment. So I would just say apply straight away. The first part is all an online application. Then you have to book your appointment at a physical visa centre. So that's the bit again where like Hugo said, you might have to be waiting for something else. So just apply straight away. If you have got any questions about the visa application form, you can send them over to my team. Again, the email address will be at the end of the webinar, and we will try our best to help you answer the questions. Hopefully you will have already had all your questions answered by then if they're about bank statements or anything like that. But yeah, the next thing is apply. Go to your appointment at the visa application centre, and then you are just waiting for your decision. I believe the 3 weeks starts from when you give your biometrics at the visa centre. So that's when the decision makers will actually start looking at your application.
That's really helpful, thank you. How much does it cost to apply for UK visa, and are there any other additional costs involved?
Yeah, so your application will not be considered to be submitted, and you won't be able to book your biometric appointment until you have paid the appropriate fee. That is £524 for the application fee. Then you also need to pay the immigration health surcharge, which you will see referred to as IHS. This is a healthcare charge that is charged to you per year of your time in the UK, and it allows you then to access the UK's health service in the same way, or very similar way at least, to that of a UK national, which means you get healthcare that is free at the point of need. If you did need to go and see a doctor, hopefully you wouldn't have to, but if you do, then you can do that for free, and you get supplemented eye and dental appointments, things like that. But you do have to pay that. It's not an optional fee. So yeah, that's £776 per 12 months of being in the UK. Something to bear in mind when you're working out how much that's going to cost you is you will be given a little bit of extra time by UKVI on your visa, and they'll charge you for that as well. So if you're doing a master's, for example, that lasts for exactly 12 months, you'll actually be charged for 18 months immigration health surcharge, because UKVI will give you an extra 4 months after your course end date, which we call it a wrap-up period. That 4 months will allow you to basically decide what you're doing next. Maybe it'll be to pack up your affairs and move on to your next adventure, and maybe in a different country or in your home country, or maybe it gives you time to apply for another visa if you want to do some more study in the UK, or you've been offered a job. You've got time then to apply for that without having to go home. So they will charge you for that though. So yeah, if you're doing a 12-month masters, you'll actually be paying for 18 months immigration health surcharge. It's always in 6-month blocks. My maths isn't good enough right now on a Wednesday afternoon to do that calculation, but it's just over £1,000 basically. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's yeah, really good to know. But yes, that should be all you have to spend on healthcare whilst you're based in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
So you pay everything up front, but then you should be all right. There's a doctor's surgery on campus and a pharmacy. So we'll look after your needs in that regard.
Yeah.
So is the process the same for everybody, or does it depend a bit on what country you're from?
It is mostly the same for everybody. I think there are a few countries where there isn't a visa application centre that's currently in use. There is specific information about that on the UK government website and what to do if you're from one of those countries. But yeah, it's pretty much the same for everybody.
Okay, that's great. So, are there any common problems that students encounter when they're applying for their UK study visa?
The common problems would be to do with probably financial documents. So you get your bank statement approved by my team, and then you go ahead and spend that money on something that's nothing to do with university or traveling, and then your bank statement hasn't actually got the appropriate balance anymore. So that's one thing. If you took the money out to use it for something else and then paid it back in, again, it's not valid because it has to have been in there for those 28 days consistently. So that's a big one. Forgetting to upload a document, such as your TB certificate. What I would say is, once you've submitted your application, make sure you keep checking your spam or your junk folder in your email, because a lot of the times, if UKVI do want more information from you, their emails for some reason go into junk. So check those folders and make sure that if they do ask you for anything, you send it. I'd be more than happy if you wanted to forward that email, if you needed some help from my team on what exactly they're asking for. That's not a problem at all. We'll try our best to help you. I suppose people might get nervous if they do get called up for interview. Again, there's not really much you can do that, but be confident, be yourself. You know why you've chosen this course. You know why you want to come to the UK, so just be yourself. And again, if you did want any tips on that, you can talk to my team. What other, can you think of any that I've told you in the past? I think that's the main ones. Missing emails from UKVI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. It does tend to be, yes, where people hope everything's okay, but actually it isn't. So if you are in doubt, yes, speak to Beth. Yeah. She will help.
It shouldn't be too long either. And if it is going to take a bit longer than the UKVI expect, they do send you an email to let you know that it's going to take longer. So you should be in the loop.
That's great. So their visa they've got their visa. They're ready to come. How does enrolment work? Do they start that before they travel?
Okay, well, even a little bit before enrolment, once you've got your visa approved, you'll then have to set up your e-visa. UKVI have got rid of physical visa documents. If you know anybody who's come to the UK to study in the past, they might have had a little plastic card to show their immigration permission. They don't exist anymore. So now you have to set up your e-visa. It's really straightforward. It's really easy to do. You do need a smartphone because you have to scan your documents and take a selfie on your phone. But it's important now that you do this before you travel, because you won't necessarily get a sticker in your passport, even depending on when your visa is approved. You might get a sticker in your passport saying you can enter the UK between this date and this date, or you might just get your e-visa. So either way, I would say set up your e-visa straight away so that you know you've got it. You can check all the details as well, then make sure the end date looks right. And you can even send us what we call a share code. All of this is very self-explanatory once you're in the e-visa. It sounds complicated now, I know, but I promise once you're in there, it's really straightforward. And again, my team can help you with that. We usually send out instructions of how to do it once you let us know that you've had your visa approved. So you can send us a share code. We can see your e-visa that way, and we can add it to your student file here in the UK. If you do have a sticker in your passport, then it'll give you specific dates of where you can book your travel to come to the UK. If you've got an e-visa, make sure you travel after the start date on there. Don't travel before your visa is valid or before your entry clearance sticker is valid. Otherwise, you'll have to hop over to Europe and come back on the day it is valid. But yeah, you can start your enrolment as well. Once you've had your CAS, you should start getting enrolment emails from the university. Again, there'll be full instructions. I think there's a video as well about how to do it. It's mainly questions about your personal details to make sure we've got things like your emergency contact details and your full names and things like that on your record. You'll also be asked to upload a photograph of yourself. Now, for the university enrolment, this doesn't need to be a really formal passport photo. So long as we can recognise that it's you, I don't mind if you're smiling, but you can. It doesn't have to be super formal, but you will need that because that's going to be printed onto your student card, which you will be given at enrolment. And you use your student card every day. You use it for getting in and out of buildings. Other than that, they're locked so that only students and staff can get in. You can also show it in shops to get student discount on things like clothes and electronics, like laptops and phones and things like that. You'll also have to show it as your ID in like an exam, so we can make sure that it's you. So that's why I say it must be recognisable, but it doesn't have to be super formal picture. Yeah, then once you've done your enrolment online, I mean, you can wait till you get to the UK to do that as well if you want. You don't have to do that before. The main thing I would say do before you travel is set up your e-visa. That should be your priority. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So when can they start to arrive in the UK, and what does the process of actually travelling look like?
Yeah, so once your visa is granted, you'll see the start date that you've been given. This is a maximum of 1 month before your course start date. Most courses start around the 18th of September. Some do start a little earlier, but you should get 1 month before that to arrive. So the earliest you're going to start coming for a standard course start date of 18th of September is the 18th of August. If you don't get your visa decision until after the 18th of August, it's usually just starts a few days after you get your visa decision. Okay, it's nothing you can do about that really. But yeah, arrive as soon as you want, as soon as you can rather, because you're going to want to settle in a little bit, book some accommodation before you travel. It's not really, the UK is not really the sort of place where you can just turn up and find accommodation, especially where we are at Keele. We're quite a small town and city, so there isn't necessarily going to be something that you can just arrive and stay the night. So try and at least book some accommodation for your first couple of weeks. If you don't want to commit to, booking a full term or semester, then at least make sure you're sorted for your first few nights. So yeah, sort your accommodation. When you're looking at flights, we are going to be picking people up from Manchester Airport for free for a couple of days in September. I think it's 20th. Again, I'm so sorry, I can't remember. It's on the website though. You can book onto that. Again, make sure you book on really as soon as you can because we've only got limited space on the bus. You'll need to make sure that your flight arrives at Manchester Airport on the same date and in between a certain time so that you can join us for that. But it's definitely worth doing because it takes all the hassle out of getting from the airport to campus, and you're likely to make some new friends as well on the way. What else do you need to think about? Think about what you're going to bring. What are you going to bring in your hand luggage? What are you going to bring in your suitcase? You don't need to bring things like big electronics like a rice cooker or an air fryer. If you really want those, you can buy them in the UK. Bring your laptop. Bring an adapter, a plug adapter, so that your charger from home works in the UK. That's definitely a useful one to bring. You'll be able to get it here, but you'll have to wait probably for it to come from online. We've got checklists and ideas about things that you could bring with you or leave behind on our website. One thing I would recommend you bring with you is something sentimental from home, because you might start feeling a bit homesick. Maybe now you're thinking, oh, that won't be me. But after a few weeks or a few months, you might start missing home. So bring something sentimental, a picture of your family or your favourite cuddly toy or something like that to remind you of home when you're here.
That's great. Thank you. So are there any, so once they arrive, obviously they will start to settle in, book into their accommodation and stuff. How do they get started with, knowing where to go and what to do in relation to university?
Yeah, well, the first thing is you will be given loads of information about where and when you need to be at certain places as part of your induction into the university. The first week is welcome week, so you won't be having necessarily lectures and classes in that first week. That'll be more about familiarising yourself with the campus and the local surroundings and making new friends, meeting your academic team, things like that. So in the first week, don't stress. My team will be at enrolment in the middle of campus, really easy to find us. There'll be lots of current students around as well to help you find where you need to be. So really don't worry about that. Use that first week to help you settle in, make as many friends as you can, attend as many social experiences as you can. Student services will be providing breakfasts and some evening meals, and the Students' Union will be putting on games nights, and your course will probably also have some fun social things going on to really try and help you settle in and meet as many people as possible in those first few days and weeks.
That all sounds rather fun. Also in that welcome week, there will be a clubs and societies fair.
Yeah.
So if you want to join a sports team or one of our other non-sports related societies, we really do have something for everyone. So as mentioned, sports teams, but also things like cultural groups. So, there may be a society with other students from the country that you're from, or religious-based societies, or even things like there's a Taylor Swift society, I think, and a Pokemon society, and sort of fun activities like that.
Yeah.
So it's a really good way of making the most of your time in the UK. Making some friends early on, I think, makes a huge difference, especially when you're that far from home.
Yeah.
So definitely worth going along to that fair and finding out what you can do.
Yep.
So once they're here, everything's sorted, they have started their course. Are there any conditions of the student visa, sort of day to day, they need to think about?
Yeah, well, the university has got regulations that you need to be aware of as well, that all students have, and that's all on our website. But as an international student, you're going to have some additional rules and regulations that you need to think about that are directly related to your student visa, such as attendance at university, which is compulsory. And my team, do have a duty to monitor your attendance, and we make sure that you're in your classes. So that's something that you need to make sure you're doing as well, that you're turning up to your classes on time. We have an app where you can check in. So it's like a digital register. There is also rules about changing your course. So if you get here and you decide, oh, actually, I don't want to do computer science, I now want to do fine art, that's not going to be straightforward. So if there is any changes that you are thinking about, please come and talk to my team. Anything that's to do with your student visa, we're here to help and guide you with that. Also, you are allowed to get a part-time job while you're in the UK on your student visa. But once term has started and you are enrolled on your course and your course has started, then you can only work a maximum of 20 hours per week. In the university holidays, so at Christmas, we have 3 weeks. In spring, we have 3 weeks for most courses. If you're doing something like medicine or nursing, might be a little bit different for you. Then you can work full time, but only in those really short restricted periods. So that's something to bear in mind. There are also types of work that you can't do. For example, you can't be self-employed in the UK. But we will talk to you about all of that when you get here. We'll give you a bit of an introductory session so that you know everything you need to know about your student visa.
That's great. So what about more generally life in the UK? Have you got any fun local tips for how to make the most of it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would recommend checking out university accommodation for a start, because we are a campus that is set slightly outside of the town centre. So although we've got 2 towns nearby, Newcastle-under-Lyme and Stoke-on-Trent, they're only 15, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour on public transport away. But if you're coming to campus every day for your classes, it's going to be easier for you to be on campus. Definitely, like Hugo said, check out the clubs and societies. There is so much going on. It's a great way to make new friends who you can then go and explore the local area with. I am from this area, I'm from Stoke, so come and ask me if you want any tips on things to do. We are famous for ceramics, which hopefully you already know because you're coming to study here, so you already know all about the potteries. But check that out. There's loads of museums in the local area, and we're not too far away from bigger cities that you can check out as well. The train station nearby, Stoke Station, is only about, again, half an hour away from campus by public transport. So it's really easy to explore on the weekends. We're right in the middle of the country, so make the most of your time here.
Yes, the Trainline app is the best one for booking train tickets, so have a look at that.
Yeah, and you can get student discounts as well for rail travel and for the local buses as well. So again, once you get here, we'll make sure you've got all the information you need about that.
That's lovely, thank you. So that is the end of the us talking part of this webinar. On the screen in a second, you're about to see some useful places where you can get more information. So you've got there the visas at keele.ac.uk email address. That's the email address for Beth's team.
Yeah. So
if you think you'd like Beth to give you a bit more help, that's how you get in touch with her. Then you've got the Keele webpage on applying for your visa. Then you've got the UK government webpage on applying for your visa. And then you've got UKISA, which is a sort of independent body in the UK, and they're very helpful for giving sort of impartial advice, on applying for a visa, studying in the UK. And that
they've got loads of really great resources about making your application, the documents you need to provide, what you can and can't do once you're here, all that kind of thing. It's a great resource, yeah.
Lovely. So, whilst we've been talking, lots of people have been asking their questions in the comment. So thank you everyone who has commented so far. And we will now go through them and see if we can give you a bit more help there. So, first question is, can the CAS deadline be extended in special circumstances?
Oh, what are your special circumstances? I want to know.
Not stated. And also, don't put in the chat your special circumstances.
No, please don't. No. Sorry. Not really. The CAS deadline is there, again, for you to make sure that you arrive on time. We really don't want you to arrive after your course start date. Like I just said, that first week is an induction week. That's really important for you to settle in, get to know the campus, get to know your classmates, and get to know your academic team as well. Then straight after that, you are going into your course and into teaching. So we don't want you to miss any of that. We know from experience that students who do arrive late, often struggle and they don't get as much out of the course as their peers who arrived early or on time. So no, unfortunately, we can't extend that deadline.
Okay. Next question is, if you are from a country that's not required to produce bank statements,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mention you earlier during the webinar.
Yes. Do you just submit your CAS checklist and that's it?
Yeah, exactly. And it should say in your CAS checklist, they are personalised to you. It should say, because you have got a passport from Japan, you don't need to provide your financial documents. So in that instance, yes, you would just need to reply to the CAS checklist, which so you do need to reply to us, but you just need to confirm whether everything is accurate or if we need to make any changes. You don't need to provide your financial documents. I would still advise you to have them ready because UKVI can still ask for them, but it's not a general requirement and we don't check them for you. Although we will if you want.
Okay. So, got a question. Do you need a bank statement at the port of entry if you've already been approved for your visa?
We do recommend that you carry your bank statement with you. Honestly, I don't know how many students actually get asked for that, but I would carry it in your hand luggage or have access to your mobile banking app, something like that. So just if a border officer did want to ask you a few more questions about your finances, then you can do that and you've got nothing to worry about.
It's better safe than sorry. We've got a question about whether we have MPhil courses at Keele. We do. There is a section on the website. You would go into research and then postgraduate research, and then there is a how to apply section there, as well as the list of subject areas covered. So do have a look at that.
I think there is some extra documents that you need to supply for an MPhil as well. You already need to have your research proposal thought out, and you'll have to upload that as part of the application as well.
Yes, and you'll also need to get in touch with your proposed research supervisor before making the sort of normal application form, so that somebody knows that you're coming. If you are not unsure as to how to do that, there are web pages, as I say, on how to apply for a research doctorate or MPhil that include email addresses for the Keele Doctoral Academy who can provide advice on stuff like that. So, next question is, do Great Scholarship recipients still need to pay a tuition fee deposit? Simple answer to that is yes, I'm afraid you do. Obviously, that means that you won't have a huge amount to pay afterwards. But over the next couple of weeks, we will be revealing who has got the Great Scholarships. So if you are lucky enough to receive one, you will still have to pay a tuition fee deposit, but we would communicate that to you as and when we awarded you the scholarship. So, next question is, what happens if I've accidentally submitted a duplicate application? I do know the answer to this. Our admission system will automatically reconcile any duplicate applications. So if you have accidentally submitted two, they will be condensed into one. All of your documents and information will be preserved in that one application, so nothing to worry about. Okay, so we've got a question here from a lady in Ghana, but her bank, she's got a UK bank account, and it's in her maiden name, and her last two transactions were in March, so it's, I presume, on her bank statement there's nothing in between that, but presumably it still has a
provided your balance is still at least the minimum. Obviously you don't need to worry about adding extra for currency fluctuations if it's already in GBP, so that's not a problem. With regards to the bank account being in your maiden name, then you would need to provide a marriage certificate to show that you've changed your name. You could also request with the bank that they change your name to be your actual current name, which is always good practice anyway. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. But yes, it sounds like none of those things should be any great problem. You just have to do a little bit extra.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a student who's coming to study a PhD, and is coming with his family. So he's wondering what the process is for adding dependents.
Yeah, I mean, if you are bringing your family, if you are a PhD student and you're bringing your family, you are going to experience additional outlay at the beginning in terms of costs, because you're going to have to pay that immigration health surcharge for all of your dependents for the entire period of your stay. There is a discount for children under the age of 18, I believe, but it's still going to be quite a lot of money. My team will happily check your bank statements. If you tell us how many dependents you've got coming with you, we can factor that in when we're checking your bank statements to make sure that you've got enough money to cover everybody's visa application, because you will have to show more in your bank statement as well. So you'll have to pay more for your immigration health surcharge, but you'll also have to show in your bank statement that you can support your whole family for at least 9 months. And there is loads of information about this on both the UKISA website and on the UK government website. But again, like I say, if you mention when you return your pre-CAS checklist that you are bringing dependents and how many dependents you are bringing, then my team can bear that in mind when we're doing your finance check and offer you a bit more bespoke guidance then.
That's great. That's very helpful. Thank you. So we've then got a question about, let's see, if somebody is asked for a credibility interview from UKVI, will that happen before or after their biometric appointment?
That will happen afterwards, because you'll submit the online application, then you'll pay the fee, then you will book your biometric appointment. And then once you've submitted your biometrics, that's when your application is actually considered and looked at by a UKVI decision maker. That is my understanding of how the process works. So only after you've done the biometrics will you then be asked for any further information, whether that's an interview or whether they've looked at your finance documents and they actually want a little bit more information about that. All that will be afterwards.
That's great, thank you. The next question is about when the next payment is due after the deposit. So once you've paid your deposit, you don't have to pay anything else until you've arrived, and then you'll be invoiced for the amount of money that will take you up to having paid 50% of your fees. So it's not 50% of what's left, it's 50% of the total fee minus how much you've paid for your deposit. So if, for example, after your scholarships had been applied, your course cost £14,000, then you'd paid a £4,000 deposit. It wouldn't be £5,000 that we'd be asking for, it would be £2,000. No, £3,000. Sorry for my terrible maths, because that's £7,000, which is half of the total cost of your course, minus the £4,000.
Oh, you made that sound really overly complicated.
Yes,
then, Hugo.
I've made that much more complicated. But it's a relatively small first instalment, and that will be due in October. And then your second and last instalment for the year would be due in January, at the beginning of your second semester. So the next question is about English language. And they're basically asking if they've met Keele's requirements, are there any other requirements that they need to worry about from UKVI?
No, not that I can think of, because if we've accepted, I mean, we wouldn't accept an English language qualification that was lower than the one that UKVI would want. So this is all, again, like I was saying at the beginning, the checks that we do are really to help you and make sure that you are prepared for your application. So if we've given you an offer based on your IELTS score, that will be enough for a student visa application. So there shouldn't be anything else for your application that you need to worry about.
Yeah. The student in question had asked in relation to Nigeria. So I imagine we have accepted you based on your West African Examination Council, high school English. That's fine. So if we've accepted you for that, UKVI will accept you for that as well. I think the only time anyone needs to be worried or pay attention to their English language when they're applying for their visa is if you have done a time-sensitive English language qualification, so something like IELTS, which is acceptable for 2 years, and your expiry date is, say, the 15th of September, you need to have made sure that you've applied for your visa before the 15th of September, or else you'll have to get a new English language certificate. So that's the only thing you need to worry about, where it could be different from where we've given you an offer.
Yeah.
But if that applies to you, we will have told you that already. So nothing to worry about. Let's see.
There's a lot of questions today.
There have been quite a lot of questions today, yes. Must the address on the bank account of their bank statement be the same as the address on their admissions letter or their offer that they've applied with?
I would expect it to be the same, yes. With regards to what's on your admissions letter, we don't actually tell UKVI what address you've given to us. So whatever address you've put in your visa application, I would expect that address to be the same as the one on your bank statement. Obviously, if your mum and dad or your legal guardian are paying, it would be their address. You might not live at the same address, but yeah, I would expect your bank statement to have your home address on it. Yes, UKVI might ask you an additional question if there's a different address. Yeah.
Okay. There's a question if someone would need to submit a personal statement and CV for their visa application.
Only if we've mentioned it on your CAS. So some people, maybe if you've been out of education for a while and we've actually made you an offer on your course based on your work experience and we've written that on your CAS, it will say based on reference, employer reference and CV. So in that case, yes, you would need to upload that to your visa application. I don't think there's any instance where you would need to upload your personal statement. The documents you upload for your visa application are quite formal documents, so qualification evidence, anything that we've listed on the CAS that we've actually used to make you an offer. So there'll be a section on your CAS where we say what the offer was based on, and you need to upload all those documents as part of your application, plus your finance documents if required, your TB documents if required.
That's great. Well, it has been an hour. I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap up there.
It's flown by, Hugo.
It has. Thank you so much for everyone who's joined us. If we didn't quite manage to make it to your question, do feel free to send us an email and we have a great team of people who are absolutely committed to making sure you have the best experience and are supported. Applying for a UK visa can be scary, which is why we're all here to make sure it goes as smoothly as possible for you. So, from me and from Beth, thank you very much, and we will hope to see you on campus soon.